Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. This is my second attempt to record this live stream. It looks like it's working this time. If I had daughters, I think Shiphrah and Puah are names I'm unlikely to choose for them. Nevertheless, I believe I would hope my daughters would have a character like that of both Shiphrah and Puah. This week, I hope to take us on a bit of a journey through the book of Exodus, but in a rather unusual way. The Bible is largely centered around men and the events that God worked through them. But Exodus is a bit unique in that all the things God does in this book, all the events of freeing God's people from slavery, all the events surrounding Moses and Aaron and Pharaoh, all the grandiose large acts of faith and messing up and salvation, all of them are made possible by how God worked through women. Far too often, the contribution of women, particularly in the story of Exodus, is overlooked or ignored. So this week, my plan is to lift up for you those behind-the-scene ladies, what they did, and the significance of it in the Bible story. These are heroic, bold, and faithful women that we can all aspire to be like. Today we want to begin with two women who just get a brief mention, but without them things would have been very different. I'm sure God would have found another way, but what they did paved the way for Moses and the Exodus at the risk of their own lives. These two women are mentioned in the very first chapter of Exodus, and no one is sure if they were Hebrew or Egyptian. Anyway, the Hebrews were slaves in the land of Egypt, and the Pharaoh became convinced that there were too many of them. Perhaps he felt that they had grown so numerous that it was difficult to control them, or that if they started a rebellion, there were so many the rebellion might succeed. So Pharaoh ordered that all male children of the Hebrews should be killed. The king brought in the two midwives for the Hebrew people, Shiphrah and Puah, and told them that when they assisted with a birth, if the newborn was a boy, they were to kill him secretly, as if the birth process had failed. But they were to allow the girls to live. That way there would be a check on the growing population of Hebrews and the threat they posed. But Shiphrah and Puah feared God, and the Bible tells us, and they did not do as Pharaoh had commanded them. Instead of killing the boys, they let them live. So the Pharaoh summoned them again and questioned them as to why they disobeyed his order. They must have been shaking in their sandals. This man had the power to kill them instantly. But Shiphrah and Puah were also clever. They said to the Pharaoh, "You don't understand. These Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women. They are vigorous and hardy, and when we are summoned, by the time we get there, the birth is already over and there is nothing we can do." The story wraps up with the observation that God dealt well with these two midwives after that, and the people continued to multiply. However, the Pharaoh issued a new command that after the babies were born, any male Hebrew babies were to be cast into the Nile River, where they would drown. Shiphrah and Puah are powerful, though obscure, examples of doing what's right, no matter what the cost. They defied the Pharaoh in order to follow God, and their example perhaps inspired Moses' mother to do what she could to save him. Shiphrah and Puah are heroes for the Jewish people. In Israel, I got to tour the Holocaust Museum to remember those who died under Nazi rule in Germany. On the grounds surrounding the museum, they have trees planted, living monuments to those who have been determined righteous Gentiles. One example would be Oskar Schindler, who saved the lives of thousands of Jews and others. Perhaps these women should have a monument tree there too. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.